Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo 906, June 15th, Ecclesiastes chapter 3. We get to roll through the Bible together. And man, what is the Bible all about? Well, if there's anything that this book tells us, and this is cool, is that you have the smartest of people on the planet that just still, struggle. I mean, Solomon was one of the more wisest people to ever walk the planet. I mean, this guy had a gift for wisdom. And yet, we see in a book like this that even Solomon is just struggling so much in his walk with God. In the distance between God, a holy God, and fallen human beings. That there is this, where is God? With this kind of idea of how is God moving? Or why does God do what he does? Even those thoughts cross Solomon's mind. And he's very knee-deep in his pontificating of all these questions and all these observances. But there's no doubt he sees a distance, a separation, a vagueness, if you will, in the actions and work, presence of God on the planet. And he senses in his mind, in his heart, in his being, he senses that. And all the frustration and trials that come with that. Now, maybe what we're doing on the planet, just as human beings, is we all feel that groaning. And for New Testament people who have read the New Testament quite a bit, you know that word groaning is a big word, right? There's a lot of groaning that's going on, meaning the idea is there's some kind of problem and we all sense it. And there's a remedy for that feeling of distance. And that is why Jesus came. That's the whole point of the incarnation, or one of the main points, I should say, is that God is making his presence known beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is a God and that he's a personal God and that he actually has compassion and love for us in our predicament. And the radicalness of our sin and our departure from God is seen in the radicalness of the remedy. The radicalness of our sin in depravity is seen in the radicalness of God's remedy for us. Meaning, what's the radicalness of the remedy? The cross. Yeah, that's pretty radical. The offering of God in human flesh. So the remedy's radical because the problem's radical. And Ecclesiastes points us always to the need of saving. Even Solomon needs this personal God to reach out and touch him. Because all we can do is ponder on this planet. If you want to refuse Christ, well then all you got is a lot of speculation. So welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo. You can always check out the archives at Bo Willett on my YouTube channel. Ecclesiastes chapter 6. Let's read it. Hey, Craig, I think you made the right choice, by the way. Laura, good to see you in the house, and great to be in chapter 6 today. There is another serious tragedy I've seen under the sun. Again, under the sun, S-U-N. And it weighs heavily on humanity. God gives some people great wealth and honor and everything they could ever want. It seems as though God gives people, some this kind of wealth right? An honor and everything they want. But then he doesn't give them the chance to enjoy these things. They die, and someone else, even a stranger, ends up enjoying their wealth. It's so true, right? You see kind of, oh man, it seems like there's a lot of weird kind of, I don't know if you want to call them injustice, but just kind of interesting stuff. Someone, does, become a success, but then they have a tragedy that hits them. All of a sudden, there's this tragedy, there's this tragic event that takes place, or their wealth just gets moved to someone else, even though they worked so hard for it, right? And it seems so kind of vain, like, man, what was the point of all that? It seems like we worked so hard. Like, why did this, why did all of a sudden it just come to an end? And again, many people ponder this. What Solomon's doing is what every human being, I would say most human beings, do. We all think. We all ponder. Gosh, why is it this way? They die and someone else just takes up their wealth. This is meaningless. A sickening tragedy. Solomon just sees it as a vain thing. Vanity of vanities, right? Gosh, how sad is it all? What's the purpose of it all? You don't get the idea that there's a purpose through the tragedy, or there's a meaning through the tragedy, or that God is directing with a good intention in mind in Solomon's writing here. You get the intention that God is super distant. Not really doing, we're familiar with this passage in the New Testament in the book of Romans that says all things work together for good to those who love God and who are called according to his purpose. But you don't sense that kind of vibe from Solomon at all, that all things are working out for good. For him, he just sees life under the sun. What's the point of all this? A man might have 100 children and live to be very old, but if he finds no satisfaction in life and doesn't even get a decent burial, it would have been better for him not to be born dead. Boy, that's sad. He might live really old, right? But man, his family doesn't even really like him that much. What was the point of him living long? A couple things that I think of, and that is, I want to live in a way where I treat people in the family good. I don't want to say ill things about people. And what am I, like, cutting people down, like really trying to get at them. I don't want to be that kind of person that lives till they're old. If I do live till I'm, 90 years old or something like that, you don't want to do that, but you just make a lot of enemies, by cutting people down, by using your tongue in the wrongful way. That would be a real tragedy. But it is sad where some people live a good life and still their family just doesn't treat them good at all. And then you go, wow, that's amazing. Like, what a trip. And, whoa, why did they do that? Why did they treat him so poorly? And Solomon observes these kind of pendulum swings in life, these kind of things that happen one way and it goes the other way. And he really just goes, man, how sad, is it all? We need saving, right? We need a savior. No matter if you got the smartest guy on the case in the government, it ain't going to work. It is not going to work. It's so sad. It's not that we don't try. We trying, but man, we dying. That's the problem. And we definitely need a resurrection. So it says his birth would have been meaningless, and he would have ended in darkness. This old man, right, who's not even loved, doesn't even get a proper burial. And he would never have seen the sun or known of its existence. yet he would have had more peace than in growing up to be an unhappy man. You see how Solomon's talking? It's like it would have been better for him not to be born. It seems that way anyway. It's all life under the sun. It's what it seems like. Have you ever pondered that way? Have you ever thought that way yourself, where you've just kind of thought through things and pondered like this? Man, it would have been better never to be born. Why was that person even born? They lived this, horrendous life, or this kind of situation, just tragedy hit them. Like, man, what was the point of that? And this kind of way of thinking makes a lot of us, growing up, I know me for sure, but it makes a lot of us just go, oh man, there must be no personal God. God must be out there in space, like somewhere floating, somewhere else, but he certainly ain't paying attention here. That's the idea, right? Does Solomon know if it would have been better for this person not to be born? I mean, how does he know that? See, Solomon doesn't know. He's just thinking. He's just thinking out loud. He's just pontificating. He's just like, man, it seems this way, in my little finite brain of trying to think through things, and so he speaks from a lot of, ignorance in a lot of ways, because he doesn't know these things. He doesn't know. It just seems. It seems to be. It seems that way. I don't want to live my life that way. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to live my life as, it seems to be. No way. One of the things Jesus taught us is that we have a Father. He said, when you pray, say, Our Father. I got a dad who loves me. And I got a dad who's working all things together for good to those who love him and who are called according to his purpose, his glory. And, it's like our God is a personal God, and he has a purpose and a plan. And he's growing us, and he's teaching us, and he's transforming us into the image of his Son, the Messiah, Jesus. And that is quite a job. But it's something that we get much help, the Holy Spirit. And so we don't have to be like, it seems this, it seems that. No, I got a Father who loves me. There's no, it seems that, it seems this. No, my Father loves me, hands down. How do I know? Well, he sent his Son to die for me. That's pretty radical, So, here you see, we don't have to be in this Solomon mode, but it's the way of all flesh, under the sun. It says, and since he must die like everyone else, well, what's the use? Sounds Eeyore-like, in Winnie the Pooh. Very Eeyore-ish. What's the use? I like Eeyore's voice. I don't know who did it. I forget the person who did his voice in the old ones, but boy, what a cool kind of pessimistic animal. All people spend their lives scratching for food, but they never seem to have enough. So are wise people are wise people really better off than fools? Do poor people gain anything by being wise and knowing how to act in front of others? Hey, you give the poor people the money and they become rich, and now they got it. Are they any better, or are they any worse? What's their ends? Now they all still what? They all still die, right? Have they really gained anything? We live in a culture where we think if we give the marginal, again, the place of power, right, that all of a sudden things are going to get better. But it won't, because we still end up hating and envy and backbiting and, all these things that Jesus talked about are in us. And we can't get rid of that. The only thing that's going to help us with it is the gospel of Jesus Christ and transformation by the work of the Holy Spirit. That's it. That's the only thing that's the only help. That's the only remedy we got. And, everything else is really seeking sand, and it's bleak in that sense. But this is what salvation's all about, is we need saving. The world needs saving. Jesus has come to save the world, right? All have fallen short of the glory of God. That's right. So are wise people really better off than fools? Well, Solomon says in some ways they are, but maybe in some ways they're not, right? You see him kind of back and forth in these chapters. Hey, God gives rich people great honor and, hey, everything like that, and he really is against the poor people. But, hey, what if the poor people become rich and then they got favor? What's the point of that? And, you see him just bouncing all over the place. And he says, let's see, where am I at? Where was I at? He says, enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Verse 9, right? Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. That's a good lesson. Hey, am I enjoying what I have? I think of this often, like when I'm sweeping or when I'm doing the dishes or, things like that, doing the laundry. I always think like, man, thank you for that washer and dryer, man. That thing's awesome. That like washes the clothes. That's pretty cool. Or I'll like turn on the faucet and the water will run and I'll go, man, God, thank you for that water that trickled down. It came out of there. It actually flowed pretty well. That's awesome. I think that's a wonderful, be thankful, right? And I like how he says that. Enjoy it. Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have, without a lustful craving for more, especially a covetous craving for more. Be careful about that. How big of a house do you need? How small of a house do you need? How, big of a car do you got? How fast of a car do you have? How fast of a motorcycle do you need, Bo? All those things, should come into our mind. And learning how to, nothing's wrong with adding. Believe me, nothing's wrong with adding. But is it because you don't have joy in what you have? That's something to think about, Maybe I need to have joy in what I have now, because if I learn to have joy in what I have now, then it's probably for certain that I'll have joy in what I'll have later. But if I'm filled with discontent with everything I have now, then who's to say that I'm actually going to be satisfied when I get, quote, what I want? Maybe people today, just as they've always been, are not satisfied in their heart. And so they need to do something. They need to transition. They need to identify. We need our nose rings. We need our tattoos. We need our hair to be a certain way. We need to have fashion. We have to do this. We have to do that. We have to find, because we're so unsatisfied. Maybe we're so unsatisfied. But the misunderstanding is that we think that if we just, get that ear pierced, if we just do that nose ring, if we just get that tattoo, if we just look this way, if we just transition our lives, then somehow we will now experience the joy. But who's to say? Wouldn't it be more rational to think that if I'm already dissatisfied, wouldn't it be that if I can't be content and I'm just filled with a lot of discontent right now, that when I do go through whatever transition in my life to be whatever I want to be, won't I just revert back to dissatisfaction at some point? If I can't find peace and serenity now, it might make sense that I won't, because whatever I transition into, then I'll have to find contentment in that. And then I move into another direction, and then I got to find contentment in that. And what I found in my life is you're always bouncing. Always bouncing. Enjoy what you have rather than desire what you don't have. Wow. Man, that is just, that sentence is for today. People not enjoying what they have. Always desiring what they don't have. Always searching and searching. What are people doing today? They're searching. Trying to find satisfaction. Just dreaming about nice things is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Everybody's just chasing the wind. You can be this, you can do this, you can be that. You can just chasing the wind. Just chasing it. Yeah, you might catch it for a time, but then it's just going to slip away once again. Everything has already been decided. It was known long ago what each person would be, so there's no use arguing with God about your destiny. The more words you speak, the less they mean. So what good are they? In a few days of our meaningless lives, who knows how our days can be spent? Our lives are like a shadow. Who can tell what will happen on this earth after we are gone? Wow, this guy gets into some serious despair. Doesn't Solomon? Remember, Solomon had a ton of women. Man, this guy lived for pleasure on an epic level. He was a famous hip-hop writer. I don't know hip-hop, but he was a famous, lyricist. He was a famous scientist. He was super famous for his architecture builds of the day. I mean, this guy really, was quite the Renaissance man, so to speak. And, what does he see? Chasing after the wind, chasing after everything? A fatality, like a fatality way of thinking. It's already been decided. What's the point? This is who I am. It's all, for mood anyway. I'm just destined for nothing. So, have you ever heard someone talk that way before? Where they have this just very fatalistic viewpoint of things, of just like, hey, what's the point? And if Jesus never came, yeah, you could probably say, what's the point? And you'd be in darkness, right? Who is the deity? How, why is there if there is a God, why is there such a void between us and God? Why can't I go outside and see God? What's wrong? There would be this vagueness. But Jesus has come to reveal the Father. He has come to show us the Father, right? To make known to us God. So we don't have to walk in this futile way of life. Of, hey, it's already been decided. It's fate. It's already there. You can't do anything. Why even try? Man, what a bummer attitude. Why try? Man, why not try? Don't you want to get better? There's benefits to getting better. Or else you wouldn't use the term better, best, worse, horrible. No, these words matter because there's a difference between bad and good. And, but Solomon's stuck in that fatalistic kind of idea. What's the point? It's all decided anyway. Why get up from the couch? Why get up? Why move? I guess I'm just destined to be like I am right now. No. I have issues in my life that have been stubborn to get rid of. Some things have fallen off me like water off a duck, I guess the saying is. But other ones, no. And I could easily just go, hey, this is going to be my lot in life. This is how it works. This is how I am. This is my fate, with this thing. But no, you got to keep working, keep getting up, keep going, keep moving. And this is beautiful, but this is what Jesus taught us. Jesus didn't say, oh, you know what? We don't do nothing. No, Jesus told us to fervently follow him, to abide in him, and to pick up our cross, to do something. And not to have this fatalistic idea of like, oh man, it's just the way it is. It's just some things will never change, the song says, it's just the way it is. No, it doesn't have to be. You can do something. You can make a decision, and Not this kind of idea of it's already been decided. It's already decided you're going to hell, Bo. So what's the point of you, making a decision for Christ? It's already decided. What? The more words you speak, the less they mean. So what good are they? Hey, it seems like the more I've been sharing, Solomon sees the more he's been sharing, the more he's been spilling out his wisdom, the more he's gone insane. Wow. Smartest dude on the planet. Shows he needs salvation. His wisdom isn't going to get him in the kingdom, right? Meaning all of his self-wisdom, all of his ability to help people in different ways. None of that's going to get him in the kingdom. It's going to be grace and grace alone, right? The work of God. And so in a few days of our meaningless lives, who knows how days can be spent? And then he just goes, really south, right? Our lives are like a shadow. Who can tell what will happen on this earth after we're gone? I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, it's just all going to, go probably south anyway. It's all destined to go, that kind of thing. We can think this way too in politics. We can think this way in a lot of ways where we get very fatalistic. And that's not good. It is overwhelming, everything that goes on in our world. And as you get older, it gets more overwhelming because you live longer on the planet. And you see just how off we are as human beings. You start to become kind of a connoisseur of human depravity. You see it. You see it in yourself, and you see it outside of yourself, meaning in the world. And that can get you really down and out. But thing is, we can make changes. You can do things to change things. You can write letters. You can even not spend your money on certain things, certain places. You can, money talks, man. No doubt about it, So there's things we can do. Solomon, he's a little stuck right now, isn't he? So Craig says, we see clearly at the moment that when God isn't in charge, countries don't work too well. People desire to have control, which leads to our destruction. That's right. And that's the problem, is that no matter if you put the poor into the places of power or keep the rich in power, whatever you desire, whatever we design, whatever formats, if God's not involved, it's, and especially a correct view of God, I must say, because God has been involved in government before and it's gone south. But there's got to be a humbling and a checks and balances, and this all has to be working with the proper heart, right? That's coming alongside of it and going a humble heart. Too much corruption, too much corrosion. When someone's going to give you thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, just for a vote, man, that can be very tempting, I would imagine. And so would I do any better in these areas? I don't know. Man, I hope so. But I would need to have a really good team around me to keep me accountable. That's for sure. And that's kind of the ticket, So very, very cool chapter. What a great one. One to think about for sure. And other tragedies that Solomon has seen under the sun. So we'll continue tomorrow on Friday. You guys have a great day. Enjoy it. And thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.